There's Purdy in the gun. 3 receivers left. Kittle, Jennings, Debo from in to out. Ayuk is right. Purdy back. Time. Steps around from DeMarcus Lawrence. Throws for the end zone. Caught by George Kittle. Touchdown! San Francisco!
Boy, what a start. First drive for this offense.
They got CeeDee Lamb, the number 3 receiver inside. Now he goes in motion right, followed by Isaiah Oliver. 49ers are tipping man on 3rd and 2. Dak back. Plenty of time. Pumps. Now rolls left. Now he's going to get sacked by Fred Warner and Javon Kinlaw. He's getting the ball out of his hands quick against everybody but the Niners. He held the ball way too long. Here's an end around and a flea flicker. Back to Brock Purdy. Takes a shot down the sideline to George Kittle. Kittle all the way to the end zone. Touchdown!
What's going on, 49er faithful? It's your boy WayneBreezie. I got my man Ant from 49ers Cutback. We got a great show planned for you, aka The Game Plan. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. You already know what time it is. Ant, what's going on this Friday? How are you feeling heading to the Big Easy, baby?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. You know, I know it's not going to be that easy because Mac Jones is going to be the quarterback, and you know you got a lot of injury concerns and all that. But for whatever reason, I'm still feeling good about Robert Saleh. I'm feeling good about this defense, and I know that those guys are going to come. They're going to be ready to hit. They're going to fly around, and that's how you win in the Big Easy. You fly around and you make plays. So I got confidence in the defense, and I think Mac Jones has enough to get it done for the Niners.
I truly hope so, and I truly appreciate you for jumping in here and sharing your thoughts and everything on the game plan on how we're going to get it done. So, guys, stick around because Ant's going to break down the game plan offensively, defensively. We don't care about special teams. We got a new kicker. We're going to make kicks. This is going to be a new leaf for the San Francisco 49ers as they are in New Orleans ready to take on the 0-1 Saints. Now, the Saints going to come out with firepower. I can tell you right now, they don't want to go 0-2, and I don't think they believe that they are a bad team. I think they believe that they just got to get some things right and some cohesiveness come together, and I think they feel like they can go out there and win. They almost beat the Cardinals. Let's just keep it a buck. Like, they played the Cardinals very well. And so the Niners better not lay an egg. They better not take this team for granted because, traveling across seas, East Coast game, 1:00 p.m. start time, all that stuff can be effective. And not having your starting quarterback, it makes me want to scratch my head just a little bit. Shout out to all the Breezy Bunch members out there. See Peachy in the building. Smash that like button for amazing content. She's put up tons of links inside the channel, so make sure you guys go ahead and click on those links as well. 49ers Throwback, happy Friday. Hit like and subscribe. Don't bother me in the building. I got to ask you this question. Ant, do you play fantasy football?
I don't. No fantasy for me.
Okay, can I ask? Is it preference, or you just not interested? Like, why not? I'm just curious.
I do not want to have to root against my team for any reason. So I don't want to have like a player on the Saints. Like I don't want to be like, oh, Chris Olave, I need you to get a touchdown, but I want the 49ers to win. I can't do that. So I just stay away from it so I don't get caught in that situation.
But how do you restrain? Because it's extra football, but how do you restrain though? From the forces that I know there's forces that pull you in. I know you get invites. I know people be like, yo, you're great. Like, yo, come play fantasy. But how do you just say no? Like, how?
I mean, I just been able to do it. I mean, people know that I don't do it. All my friends know I don't play.
Got you.
Yeah, I never get involved in it. Like, all my friends have multiple leagues. Like, everyone's doing all their drafts all the time and all that. And they'll ask me, hey, Ant, what about this? What about that? I might give them a little bit of knowledge, but I'm not getting involved. I'm not going around it. I just stay out of it.
You're a smart man. I'll tell you that. Now, my boy Don't Bother Me started a new league, right? And so it's called the Guillotine League. So it's a chopped league. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So every week, the team with the lowest score is eliminated. And then when that team is eliminated, those players go back into the waiver wire. And so you can try to pick up some of the players from the teams that were eliminated. And so I was safe this week, but stuff not looking good. I don't know if I'm going to be feeling this chop league. So that's why I asked you, did you play fantasy football? Because this is a whole new kick on how to play fantasy football, like whole new twist on it. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Jax Knox in the building. Hello, faithful. Hope everyone's Friday is going amazing. I supposed to be in Nolans, but I'm sick. So safe travels to all the faithful. Bring us back the dub. Have an amazing show. And she started the show off with a super chat contribution with a question. All right, so it says, welcome, Ant. I have a question for you and Wayne. How many yards will Mac Jones throw for? And will he throw for at least 3 touchdowns? And who will be the coach of the game? So 3 questions, 3 parts. I'm going to let you take a stab at all the parts. So how many yards for Mac Jones?
I think Mac Jones is going to be around 200 yards. I think that's where the 49ers want him to be. They want him to convert, move the sticks when they need to, but they're not going to ask him to do too much in this game. And I think that's a smart, intelligent way to go about it. I do not think he's going to have 3 touchdowns in this game. I think it's closer to 1. I would say the over-under is 1 on this game. I think this is going to be a heavy run game. McCaffrey, Brian Robinson, that's going to be a lot of the focus. So I don't see him out there. If McCorkle goes out there and starts uncorking some of these deep balls and making things happen, like that would really surprise me. I would be down for it. And I think the coach of the game is going to be Robert Saleh again. I think this defense is going to rattle Spencer Rattler, and I think that's the key to this game is getting after him a little bit. So Saleh, McCorkle around 200 yards, maybe 1 touchdown. I think that's kind of where he's sitting at.
I like it, man. I like it. I'm hoping he does get the 200 yard. I'm sure he can reach that benchmark. It's not little. It's not light. You see Jaden Daniels struggled against the Green Bay's defense yesterday. You expected him to go for 300-400 yards and it just didn't happen. So, but McCorkle, hey, man, if he can get 200 plus yards, I think that's a bonus. I do expect him to go out there and be able to execute the game plan. He is the backup quarterback for a reason, and he knew what his role was going to be. God forbid something happened to the starting quarterback. So I'm assuming the game plan for him is going to be his strengths, and now it's just trying to go out there and execute. But 3 touchdowns, if that happened, man, we got to scratch. It would be a great thing, right? Because he wouldn't replace Brock Purdy. I had this question yesterday saying, and if McCorkle in the next 2 games, like I don't think Brock Purdy's going to be out for 5 games. So the next 2 games, let's just say Brock misses, and McCorkle has 4 touchdowns apiece in each game, 300 plus yards, maybe 2 interceptions. Do you kind of give Brock the job right back if McCorkle has like a sort of semi-hot hand, or do you like how would you go about that as a coach?
Yeah, I would give Brock the rock right back. I'd be like, all right, go back out there and do it. I know that there would be a lot of conversation, around social media and, around the media in general that, hey, this is a quarterback competition, but you just paid one guy over $50 million to go out there and sling the rock. And, and Brock Purdy, he does a really good job. I mean, the thing is he runs this offense. He's got some things that he can do that Mac Jones can't. He can create with his legs. He can extend plays, take some of the pressure off the offensive line. So those are the things I look at if I'm Kyle Shanahan, like, oh yeah, I got this guy that can still do this. So yeah, they go back to him. And I think Mac Jones then just elevates his potential trade stock during the offseason because you're going to have Curtis Rourke. He can be available next year. And maybe then you can move on from Mac Jones and get a lot back. Or you could just sit pretty and know that you got him in case something happens to Brock next year. But value would go through the roof. And I would love it, right? It would be like kind of like those years when you used to have like Steve Bono or Steve Young come in the game and they would still do a really good job. And you're like, man, the 49ers quarterback room is just absolutely stacked. And I think that's how I would feel. And I do have a little bit of belief in McCorkle, so you never know. He could go off. He's done it before.
I agree 1,000%. Let's keep these members flowing. Oscar, I call him Oscar the Grouch. He says, good morning to people, because later on in the track, he's like, where the F is Wayne? Like, I was 1 minute late. We were talking. Dang, I can't catch up with Ant. Like, dang, Oscar. Anyway, he's right. Good morning, people, to the West Coast people, and afternoon to the East Coast people. Happy Friday. Commanders looking like the 49ers injured everywhere. What is your take on some of these injuries, man, just around the league? I know the 49ers are plagued every season, but you're seeing these injuries around the league. What is your quick take on these injuries around the league?
Yeah, I think the injuries are bound to happen, and there's a lot of soft tissue injuries, of course, when these players are getting acclimated to playing football. and they don't do things like they used to. But remember, these guys are pushing themselves to the limits to be the biggest, the strongest, the fastest. And when you do that, you're pushing your body to the limits, and things can't really handle that. Your body tissue sometimes just gives. And so those things happen. I think it was unfortunate, some of the injuries that happened last night with Austin Eckler, and Reed as well. Like, those were tough injuries. Those were more contact style injuries. But, this is the NFL. This is what it's going to be. It's a war of attrition, and it's going to hit every single team, not just the 49ers. And I think when you look, even the Saints, they're being hit by it as well. It's just a freight train of injuries. It's the NFL we're in. Deeper rosters are probably coming with maybe an 18-game season, but that's just kind of where we're at.
And you'll probably have more injuries. Like, the more people you have, the more apt you're gonna have to injuries. It's just football. I try to explain to the community that it's football. Like, injuries are going to happen. They're gonna pile up. I guess the bright side, when you think about the injuries, is they're not season-ending injuries, right? And so that's the bright side. I mean, injury is an injury, but to not have you for the whole season, that's where, you kind of like, it gets a little detrimental to your team, your offense, defense, depending on who the injury is too and the player. But that's the bright side. So, I mean, I know the 49ers are dealing with a lot of injuries. I know that's all we care about, but at least they're not keeping the players out for the season. That's the bright side. And I know it sucks to say, hey, Chrissy 1687, X-Man is in the building. Good morning to you as well. Marty Marr, 49er Empire. And that's the first time your name tripped me up, bro. All right, man, we got one more super chat contribution before we get started with the news and updates. Bold prediction. Ooh, you mentioned 2 running backs, and I wanted to talk about these other 2 running backs. Slick 68 was in my brain. He says, I see Grindo and Jordan James running the rock versus the Aints. What are your thoughts on these 2 guys? I agree with you when you said it should be a heavy run game. And I think you bring all the running backs out of the stable, right? Because the key is to move the ball, not just north and south, but east and west. And they have a good front 7. So what is your thoughts on the other 2 running backs? Maybe more Grindo than Jordan James, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not sure Jordan James is going to be active. I know that he's probably going to be healthy, or at least he's getting close to being healthy, but you don't normally carry 4 tailbacks on your active roster. You just don't have the spot for it on the game day roster, I should say. And so I think that there's a chance that he doesn't. You're using Grindo as your kick returner, so that kind of helps him. He was good on the other special teams as well. I think that helps him a little bit. I don't know if we're going to see Grindo catch the football. They were heavy on McCaffrey. They were heavy on Brian Robinson last week. And I think they want Brian Robinson to get used to playing within this offense. And I think we saw him at times still look like he's learning where the landmarks are, where the lines are. There's a little bit different nuance to Kyle Shanahan's zone scheme compared to what he's used to. So they're wanting to get him those reps. I think there's a chance we could see Grindo for a couple of carries. Maybe a couple of times he's lined up in the backfield on 3rd down if they want to get Christian McCaffrey a break on 3rd down. But I think it's going to be heavy McCaffrey, heavy Brian Robinson, especially right now without Brock Purdy, where you don't really have Brock to be able to kind of handle things for you and get a couple easy throws. And I think they're going to want to try to take as much weight of pressure off Mac Jones as they can.
I like that answer. You know what? I would like to see more Grindo, though. I feel like, yeah, you're going to get him on the kick return. He did have the fumble. I know people are going to criticize everything we do wrong, and I get it. We should. But I feel like on those pass catching downs, on those 3rd downs, I do feel like Brian Robinson is a liability. He's never been that type of a player, even in Washington. He's just been the running back, the running back. Not saying he can't catch, not saying he can't run routes, not saying he can't learn the routes. But in a game that it's not a must-win game, but in a game on the road where you probably could have a 1-up, I would like to see. I mean, even Juice was running the routes, man. He had the nice little delayed wheel route out of the backfield for 25-yard gain. I mean, the space that he found in that was beautiful, right? So why not utilize Grindo just a little bit more, maybe in the receiving game, if not in the run game? I think Garindo's still the fastest running back we have that could get to the outside if he understands the zone blocking scheme. So I would like to see the east-west run, which we really didn't get much of last week because you just weren't running it east-west, and whenever we tried it got bottled up for a loss. So except for the one explosive play from Christian McCaffrey toward the end of the game, and Trent Williams had a pancake block on that. I'm just concerned the outside zone just seems to be slowly disappearing, or am I seeing things wrong on film?
It was just lack of execution that really got them. I mean, some of it's difficult going against Seattle's defensive line because not only are they very big, but they're hyper athletic. So you knew you were going to have to wear them down. I kind of said that before the game. When we get to the fourth quarter, let's see what happens with that running game for the 49ers. And I thought that's when it kind of picked up as you started wearing down Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy and Jaron Reed. Then it started working. I think that, with the Saints, you're going to get a lot of 5 and 6 man fronts this week because that's exactly what he does. Brandon Staley loves a 6-man front, 6'1", 2 high safety, and that's going to give you some opportunities because if you can get to the outside, there's a lot of things open out there because they don't have those second-level players. So last week, the 49ers offensive line struggled to get to the second level consistently. Ben Bartch got tripped up or got caught up and fell down. We've seen that from Dominic Pooney a little bit. I think that this week, there's not going to be as many opportunities to get to the second level. There's going to be a lot of bodies in front of them. So if they can handle those guys early, it could be open. I do think a toss play is a little bit more advantageous this week than an outside zone run, but the outside zone run is going to be there too if you can get all those bodies moving. But Saints got some big guys on the interior, but they don't move like the Seattle guys.
They do. They got big experience guys too that just kind of know the nuances of football. But you're right. The key to them, the speed's not there. And that's why I want to get to these outside zone lanes so that way we can utilize what we have on the outside, which is the speed. And I still think we do have the linemen that can do so. So we'll see what happens. Guys, drop what you're doing. Make sure you go to 49ers. What's your YouTube channel handle so that they can go subscribe and all that good stuff. Cutback, baby. 49ers Cutback at 49ers Cutback. Do me a favor. Go there right now. Make sure you click on that subscribe button. Do not wait to the end of the show. Show my man Ant some love. Let's get this popping. Let's keep this show going. I see more people in the chat for sure. JP Hella Hard said, WayneBreezie, you got that prediction wrong last night. I did. I really thought that Jaden Daniels would have had his stuff together, and it wasn't just on him. I mean, they just didn't play well. So yeah, I did get the prediction wrong last night, but it's just one game. Who cares? I mean, I got 5 of them wrong last week. I do picks every single week. I don't know if you do picks, but I have fun in doing it because it's just fun. It's just fun to do. So I got it wrong. What you gonna do? I didn't bet on it. I ain't lose anything, but the fact that I got it wrong. Now, you know what I did get wrong? Madden got wrong last week because the Niners and my Madden sim got trampled last week. They just couldn't beat the Seahawks, but the Niners found a way to beat the Seahawks. This week, we got to do the sim. I'm going to do it immediately following this show, so it's going to be like back-to-back WayneBreezie right here on the channel, so make sure you stay locked in. And when does your Madden sim release?
Yeah, I'm going to drop it at 3 o'clock Pacific time today, so 6 Eastern time. It'll come out. I love that you do the live, and you go through it and you go through the whole thing. I do my own commentary. I'm just like, I go record it, I edit it, I break it down, and just do it. Just do it something a little bit, different. But yeah, it's coming out.
When I say you're amazing, when I sit there and listen, I'm like, this voice belongs in the game. Like, I rather hear your voice than the voices that they have in the game. So your commentary is amazing, from the formations that they're in to the personnel. I'm like, how do you getting all of this out? Me, I'm just like, yo, he's in shotgun, he gonna drive back and watch him run for his life. Like, I'm just that type of a person. But I love the commentary that you put in your Madden simulation. So that's why y'all need to go make sure y'all subscribe to 49ers Cutback, because his simulations, the Niners win. My simulations, I don't get it. I don't understand. I can't figure it out. Like, you know what I'm saying? I truly can't figure it out. Let's get to some news and some updates, man, because the 49ers got a lot going on. Just as far as news, we know that Brock Purdy isn't going to play in this game due to the injury. We'll talk about his injury. We got George Kittle on the IR. As far as the roster moves, they signed kicker Eddie Piñeiro, tight end Messiah Swinson to the practice squad, and I promoted Braden Willis to the roster. So how many snaps do you see Braden Willis actually playing in this game? I don't know. Do I have the snap count of the tight ends do you know the snap count of the tight ends last week?
Not.
Okay. So I'm going to look that up. How many snaps do you feel like Braden Willis will get, and what will be his role in this game?
I think he's going to be mainly special teams. I think that's where he's going to, he's going to have to get the most playing time adding on special teams. He does a pretty good job at it too. But I think that he'll probably come in from time to time if you need to spell one of those tight ends. I don't think it's going to be much more than 3 to 5 snaps. I really don't. I think they're going to allow Juice to play a lot of, that move tight end position. I'm sure Luke Farrell, you'll see Jake Tunges as well, because Tunges proved to be a receiving threat. But Luke Farrell's going to be in there for the blocking. That's going to be a key going against Granderson, going against, Cam Jordan. He's going to have to make sure he handles business out there on the edge and do his best George Kittle impersonation when blocking. But I think that Braden Willis will fit in, here and there. I think they'll give him some opportunities, but I think he's more there just in case you need him, just in case you have an injury to Farrell or to Jake Tunges, so you don't lose your ability to still run 12 personnel or 22 personnel. So I think that's kind of what his role is going to be.
I like that. They played 95 snaps. So the 3 tight ends last week played 95 snaps. Luke Farrell played the most. That was 44. Kittle 21, but we know he got injured. Jake Tonges played 30 snaps on the offensive side. So 95 snaps between the 3 tight ends. And we're going to see how this is going to pan out. I think Braden Willis, I would love to see him more featured as a pass catching tight end. I feel like he has the ability. He coming out of college, I felt like if you can get the ball to him, sort of how we see Minnesota use TJ Hawkinson, like that check down type of guy, a bunch of space open, get the ball to him in space, he can make a person miss and get you some yak yards. So I'm not sure why we don't see any of that. I mean, obviously he can't crack the roster with the other tight ends that we have, but with the entry to George Kittle, maybe this might be the week where they actually feature a more receiving threat as a tight end opposed to just the 2 blockers out there. Any chance we get into 13 personnel, we get around the goal line?
There's always the chance. I don't know if they're going to do that because of Juice. You want Juice on the field because of his versatility. Not only can he block, but you get him out in space, and he's a dynamic player going against some of those backups, linebackers, or even in this case you're going to have safeties that aren't used to playing very much snaps. So getting Kyle Juszczyk out there, I think, is going to be a key. So I think it's going to be, you could probably see some 22 personnel, especially if Brandon Staley does what Mike McDonald did and refused to come out of his 2-eye safety look most of the game. Even when you're in 22 personnel, why not load up and run the ball? So I think Kyle will probably test it and see what Brandon Staley's willing to do.
Love it. Let's get to the injury report. Now, Trent Williams, knee injury. We know he got injured. Brock Purdy, toe, shoulder. The report came out early that he's going to be out for about 2 to 5 weeks. And then John Lynch kind of talked to the team doctors, and it's kind of listed day to day. Like, what is your overall thought on the Brock Purdy situation? Do you want him to get the maximum time of restoration and healing, or do you want him back on the football field as quickly as possible?
I want him back as quickly as possible. I think that this week will probably determine, right? If Matt goes out there and plays really well, maybe they take a look at it and say, hey, we got an extra week to play with. But next week's divisional game against the Cardinals, that's very important to win. So that's probably why they looked at this week and said, hey, let's give him a rest. I know Kyle Shanahan keeps saying it's not a turf toe. So if it's not a turf toe, we don't know exactly what the timetable is. That report is a turf toe injury timetable of 2 to 5 weeks. So hopefully Brock Purdy's ready to go next week. I would say I give it a chance for him to go next week, but for sure by the time you get to week 4, they're going to want him available and ready to play.
Yeah, because I want him out there for both divisional games, right? Like the Cardinals and the Rams. I mean, you want your starting quarterback out there if he's healthy. That's what you're hoping for. Yetur Gross-Matos with the knee injury. He had the highest pressure rate for a defensive lineman this week in the NFL. What are your thoughts on him, and can he stay healthy? Like, since he's been a 49er, he has not been able to stay healthy on the defensive line.
Yeah, I think that's his biggest restriction is going to be whether he's healthy or not. It's funny, I was on with John, I think we were like a month ago, and I said that Yetur Gross-Matos is my X factor on defense because of his ability to rush from the inside. That's what he really did at Carolina. His 4 sacks in Carolina came from the interior, where he's too fast for the interior offensive lineman and still strong enough to bull rush them as well and hold up. So I think this is going to be a management thing with his knee. I think that they're just going to keep kind of bringing him along. Last week, I thought he would have 10 to 12 snaps. He had 14. And I think that's what they're going to continue to do. Use him as a specialized pass rusher, and he can really create on the inside. He opens things up for Bryce Huff on the outside, Nick Bosa, Mikael Williams. It's a nice grouping together. So I think that as long as they can manage him and keep his snaps low, don't ask him to be a defensive base, defensive end on the outside, I think he's going to be successful for this football team and the stats are going to come. I think he could get as many as 6 sacks if he can stay healthy this season.
What are your thoughts on my boy Sam O? Because I feel like those two pieces, they're the same piece. I feel like for me, Sam O is that X factor. I feel like we need to see him more. He does have more of a healthier body, but it seems like when he's out there on the football field, the guy is finding a way to make plays. So what are your thoughts on Sam O? Because they use him almost the same way. You can use him on the outside, but they use him on the inside because he has the speed to beat those interior offensive linemen.
Yeah, what's nice about having Sam Okawanu is the fact that he can play the base defensive end in place of Yetur Gross-Matos. So he's going to get more snaps, but also we've seen down the stretch that last play, they had Gross-Matos off the field. They're managing his reps, and they had Sam Okawanu on there. So he's going to be a part of these packages too. It's the motor, right? He just continues to go. He never stops. It's not like he's an elite pass rusher or his hands are the greatest. He just doesn't stop, and he finds ways to create havoc. And that's the kind of player you want. And then he had the big fumble that he caused as well. So, yeah, Sam Okawanu is going to keep making plays for this football team, and I think that he's going to get even more snaps as it kind of presents itself. But the outside and then the inside sometimes, I think you're spot on. That's what he's going to be used at, especially when Gross-Matos can't go.
Now, Juwan Jennings, wide receiver, dealing with the shoulder injury. Test came back negative to where he's not going to be, it's not severe or anything like that, more just day-to-day. You think he's going to play in this game?
Yeah, I do. Pain management is what it comes down to, right? If you can feel like you have enough range of motion and you can go out there and deal with the pain, as somebody who's had shoulder injuries in their life, I know what shoulder injuries mean. It sucks. But I think that he can go out there and handle it. And I wouldn't be surprised if you don't hear that he goes through the walkthrough practice or, is going to be prepared. I'm guessing he's going to be listed as questionable. But I think it's a good chance he's out there, and they need him. They need all the help they can get while George Kittle's out.
Let's take a quick look at the practice report from yesterday on 9/11. No Trent Williams, no Brock Purdy, no Juwan Jennings. We already know Brock is not playing. You said that you feel like Juwan Jennings will play, depending on pain management. What are your thoughts on Trent Williams, though? Do you feel like if he didn't practice yesterday, is he just getting extra time, being a vet, or is he going to miss some time with the knee injury?
Well, the fact he worked out a little bit on a side field yesterday means I think that he's got a shot. If he wouldn't have been out there, I would have been more worried. But we've seen Trent do this when he had the ankle injuries before. Usually Friday practice, he would come out, go through the walkthroughs, and then you had a pretty good idea that he was going to be able to play. I think this is significant. If he can't play, I'm a little concerned about Spencer Burford going against Granderson and Cam Jordan. That makes me a lot more concerned than if Trent Williams is out there. So hopefully he finished the game last week. He's working on a side field. I think that's trending in the positive direction, but you never know for sure when it comes to Trent Williams, but I'm hoping he's going to be out there.
Yeah, for a guy that didn't have one of his best showings in week 1, you would love to see him kind of like rebound and, maybe give up no pressure, 0 pressures, 1 pressure, opposed to the 6 pressures. I was watching the film and I was like, oh man, they was doing all kind of things to stunt Trent Williams. They had Trent Williams blocked. Trent Williams blocked his guy, and then they blocked him into the other guys and then let the other guy go around him for free, and he just wasn't able to get back to the guy. I was like, oh man, poor Trent, yo. They were like literally game planning for him to kind of trip him up a little bit to where he just couldn't pick up the guy stunting around after he blocked, which I don't know if it was like all of his fault, because he literally did block his guy, and then the stunt guy came around and everybody was congested in the traffic, and it was just a free guy trying to get around the corner for Trent to get to Brock Purdy. But looking at this Saints defense, and we'll preview the game in a few seconds, what do you think the Saints' strong point is before, I don't want you to dive into the game plan, but what do you think the Saints' strong point is? Is it their defense? Is it their offense? Brandon Staley's looking to probably give some payback to Kyle Shanahan. Like this is what NFL is about. Like people think coaches don't battle each other. They definitely do. What are your thoughts just on what's the Saints, key for their team to like activate?
Yeah, I think it's the defense. I really do. I think that, they've got so much questions at the quarterback position that it can't be the offense because this team really hasn't been able to get going with Spencer Rattler at the helm. But with that defense, Cam Jordan, and Demario Davis, those guys light things up. Those guys get things going. That's the energy. That's the juice of this team. And I think as long as they play tough, they're going to keep the Saints in every single game they're in. And that's going to give them an opportunity to win. And I think that those guys, especially, I think Granderson's also a real problem off the outside. But I think they lost a lot of juice when Tyrann Mathieu retired. I think that did hurt this defense on the back end. It's not as strong. It's a little bit more, makeshift. You got Kool-Aid, and Kool-Aid's going to do his thing, and I like him.
I like Kool-Aid.
But you've got Isaac Yedem on the other side. We know Yedem really well, and so it's a little bit different. They used to have a lot more. They had Lattimore, and they had these guys that could go make some plays. So I think this defense took a step back, but still the juice comes from the two big-time veterans up front, Cam Jordan and Demario Davis.
I like that you said they took a step back, and I get it. But that young secondary was balling last week. Yeah, like I just felt like they were flying around to the football. No, they weren't making the plays, the pick sixes, the interceptions, and things like that, the highlights on SportsCenter, but they looked like a unit. And I just us not having our starting quarterback going to our backup quarterback, not saying that Mac Jones can't get the job done. I just don't want him forcing certain passes into the unit. I want him to take what the defense is giving him and, allow things to just, develop naturally opposed to forcing. I watched Brock force a couple of passes last week, not just the interceptions. He was forcing some other passes as well. But when Brock was just letting the defense dictate to where he kind of went with the ball, he was diming him up, and so I'm hoping that we get kind of some of that processing from Mac Jones, because I know Brandon Staley's got some tricks up his sleeve with this young defense. But you're right, they did lose some key pieces, and I think that Tyrann Mathieu retirement hit them just out of nowhere, because I don't think anybody really saw it. I didn't see it coming, and I don't think they saw it coming as well. All right, the Niners are favored by 3 points on the road. The forecast is sunny, so for those that are going to be at this game, it's going to be hot. All right, it's going to be hot, high 88, low 73. This is early afternoon on the East Coast, so that means you're going to be in the sun baking. And let me just remind all my West Coast faithful, the heat on the East Coast is a lot different than the heat on the West Coast. It's more humid over here. And so when it's hot, it's hot. So just dress appropriately so that you're not mad at anybody. Because usually when people are hot, they get mad at people and get attitudes. That's what the heat does over on this side. Do you think the weather is going to affect the team, though? Affect the players in any kind of way, as far as their attrition, as far as their conditioning?
No, I don't think so. That's a good thing about playing in a dome. Hopefully it's controlled. The weather's controlled inside. I don't know what they'll do to it. Some teams like to make places a little bit warmer.
That's what I'm saying.
Make it a little bit more difficult on the field. Some teams, want it to be comfortable for their players. So I don't know. I don't know exactly how they want to have this thing happen, but I think the players are going to be ready. They start their regimen about getting hydrated. They're already started it today. They're getting prepared days in advance for the hydration they're going to need for the game. And I think they'll be ready to go. I think that they're prepared for this, but it's going to be a complete battle when you're talking about the fact that both these teams are going to want to run the ball. I think it's going to come down to those gritty players up front getting it done.
Yeah, it's gonna be definitely fun. I think this is gonna be a straight up defensive battle, just like you said earlier. And the team that makes the least amount of mistakes offensively will be the team that's going to be victorious. This is my favorite part of the show. It's called the game plan. And I'm very particular because I want the minds of, those coaches' minds. I want to give a different perspective, not just from a fan, but from someone that understands the X's, the O's, how to draw up plays, how to adapt to certain things that happens. And that's why Ant is here, because because he has a very inquisitive mind offensively and defensively. He understands football to the highest degree. Let's start with the 49ers offense versus the Saints defense. They have the 25th ranked run defense, and this is why I think you came out and said you run the damn ball.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's going to be a game plan for the 49ers all season. But this is a game plan, especially in this game. And there are some key losses, that this Saints defense has had, even just recently with Julian Blackmon, the safety, being hurt as well. So they want to have, Reed come up in the box and play the run sometimes, but he can't do that all the time now because they're going to have question marks. Jordan Howden's going to be ready to go at safety, but that's still a question mark on the back end. How are they going to work that thing out? But I think we're going to see a lot of Brandon Staley staples in this game. You're going to see a lot of 5-6-man fronts, a lot of 2 and 1 linebacker looks, and they're going to just try to put pressure on this 49ers offensive line, and they're going to try to get push. They want to get vertical push with that defensive line and disrupt the lanes, the timing of the 49ers offensive run game. And I think the 49ers are going to counter it by forcing them to play the edge. They're going to bring in, we talked about this earlier, you want to see the outside zone. Well, guess what? They're going to force that. They're going to bring in the extra tight end. They're going to line up Kyle Juszczyk out there on the edge. They're going to go, with the 12 and 22 personnel and say, okay, we're going to add extra gaps. We're going to make your guys spread out. We're going to create lanes for us to be able to run the football. And then I think they're going to use Mac Jones kind of out of that. Some play action passes, some RPOs, get rid of the football quickly. We saw him do that in preseason. He did it pretty well. And just these really good throws that are high percentage throws. Let's get the offense moving. Let's get convertible third downs. It's all about staying ahead of the sticks. And I think that's what they're going to do in this one. I don't think it's going to be a fancy game plan. I think this is going to be a lot of run right at them, get to the edge, and then when they react to what you're doing in the edge, then start hitting them with some of those counter plays that they like to do and get back to some of that inside zone stuff. But early, I expect the 49ers to stay on the edge and kind of establish the run game and then get to that passing game off of that.
Oh, I love it. Let's flip the script one time and let's go with the Niners defense led by Robert Saleh going against the Saints offense. Who do you think Robert Saleh is literally targeting to take away on the Saints offense?
I think the two most dangerous players for the Saints has to be Chris Olave, who can make every single catch. He can line up anywhere on the field, and he's got enough speed. He's got enough juice. He can get in and out of his breaks really nice. The good thing for the 49ers, they have 2 cornerbacks that can go out there and work with them a little bit. So I think that they'll have a good game plan for Chris Olave. I'm sure they're going to give a little bit of help, especially on him, which will kind of free up Brandon Cooks to go a little bit against Upton Stout, and we'll see what happens with the young veteran guy. Brandon Cooks from my backyard. So I know Brandon Cooks very well. So I think that's going to be an interesting matchup. But the other one I'm worried about is the tight end, Jawan Johnson, and what he could potentially do. He had a really big game last week, and the 49ers got a young safety in Marquise Siegel. And can they find matchups against Marquise Siegel? I think the 49ers will use D. Winters and Fred Warner to kind of help alleviate some of that. But he's so big, he's also a matchup problem for Upton Stout. So that's going to be one of the key matchups is how do they handle Jawan Johnson in this game and still be able to keep the attention to Chris Olave that you need to. And then all the while, you got to worry, are they going to get that burner Shaheed down the field vertically for an explosive play? I think they've got enough weapons to be dangerous. So the 49ers are going to have to get after Spencer Rattler, make it so you can't have those deep vertical balls. I think Robert Saleh is going to dial up some blitzes in this game, and I think they're going to get after Rattler a little bit.
Well, it's funny you said that. I did my keys to victory. I don't know how many people watch it or pay attention to anything I said, but my third key to victory was rattle the Rattler. Like, you have to find a way to dial up the pressure. The thing about him though is he's pretty good under pressure. All right, he doesn't fold under pressure is what I'm trying to say, but he's still young, and I think this is where the exotic mind of an experienced defensive coordinator like Robert Saleh comes into play. Not just your normal linebacker blitzes or your safety blitzes. I think he's going to draw up some things that we've never really seen, especially knowing that especially knowing that he doesn't have the starting offense with the quarterback not being there to really kind of like back up what they do on defense. So I think the pressure might be a little bit more on Robert Saleh's side of the football to make sure that he's giving his team more opportunities to go out there and score points. So I love exactly what you said. They have to find a way to pressure this kid Spencer Rattler, who seems to be just improving week after week. I think he's going to be his second start. Well, he started sometime last year as well, but he looked good under pressure against Arizona. I'm not saying he was great. He did drop back 40 plus times. So if you can eliminate the run, like you said, that's the key. Find a way to get to him. They got to get him down on the ground. How many sacks do you think the Niners defense may come up with this week?
It's all going to be determined by how tight they want to play their coverage. Because, the thing was, Kellen Moore last week did what he was trying to do was help Spencer Rattler get rid of the football quickly. They went quick. And so that simplifies what you're going to see coverage-wise. But the problem is you do it one time, that works. Now defenses can prepare for it. So they can give Spencer Rattler a base look, a shell coverage every single play pre-snap and change it post-snap. And Kellen Moore said in his presser this week that Robert Saleh does a very good job of showing man and then switching into zone coverages and mixing it in. That's when you'll get Spencer Rattler in trouble. Last week, he didn't turn over the football. He was very smart with his decisions. That's how you can drop back 46 times and barely throw for over 200 yards because you're just throwing it underneath. If the 49ers can take away some of that short yardage stuff and make it difficult without giving away anything deep, they're going to get after him in a big way because Talise Fuaga, their right tackle, he's probably out of this game. Yeah. They don't have Trevor Penning. He's probably going to be out. Dylan Radins will be starting in his spot. So there are weaknesses to this Saints offensive line, and the 49ers go with that big-time package. We talked about Gross Matos earlier, Gross Matos. That guy gets after it, and that pass rush unit, that hybrid unit that has Mikael Williams and him, and they're just so good up front. I think they can get after him. I think Spencer Rattler might be prone to hold the ball because of Saleh's ability to kind of change up the coverages. I think they could get him at least 2 or 3 times in this game.
Yeah, as far as getting him down, that would be key. It would definitely boost the morale of the Niners defensive line. Always getting a sack. Sacks definitely just make you play better, right? Like they just make you feel good. They make you play better. I think my thing is though, Saleh, I'm curious to see how he changes up that defense because they play a lot of coverage where they're giving up the underneath routes to not get beat deep, and then they have the speed and the guys to get there to make the tackle, so it's not a lot of yak. So will they play more tighter coverage on the underneath routes? I
think early they won't. They're going to make Spencer Rattler prove he can make those completions.
Throws.
Same way they did with Matthew Stafford a couple years ago, right? This defense kind of rings true. Make them prove they can do it. And if they can, then you start tightening it up a little bit. But if they can't, well, you're just going to get off the field really easy. And all you're going to have to do is sit back and just let, things happen. So I think early he plays off a little bit like normal. And then later on in the game, if they need to, they'll tighten it up.
Yeah, it's going to come down to adjustments and things like that. I definitely don't want to see Rashid Shaheed burning the San Francisco 49ers secondary deep, taking advantage of safety just being out of position. I think Kellen Moore is going to definitely try to take advantage of the young safeties. Speaking of young safeties, Jonas Sanker, rookie for the New Orleans Saints, maybe he gets some burn, so I'm hoping Kyle Shanahan will find a way to take advantage of that safety and put him in some crazy situations. You got to take advantage of these young players, man. Teams do it to us every single time. I feel like we don't do the same thing, though. The only people we like to take advantage of are weak-ass linebackers. I feel like that's who Kyle likes to take advantage of every single week if he can, but go after some of these young guys. You talked about they got players injured. Go after the quarterback if that offensive line is subpar. It just seems like, though, when we have to play substitute offensive linemen, we just can't. We don't play. That was last year, though. That was like, I'm not even going to go back into last year. This year. This year, new year. New leaf, new year, and Robert Saleh, I feel like, is going to find a way to get it done. That's how I'm going to look at it, and I'm not even going to think about how it was last year. Last year don't matter. All right, week 2's key matchups. All right, Ant, you get to give a few key matchups that you have circled on your docket. I didn't give you this, so now you get to make it up right on the fly. It's the best part of my show. We on the fly, baby. Week 2's key matchups.
Well, the first one has got to be the outside edge rushers, Cam Jordan and Granderson against Trent Williams and Colton McKivitz. If it is Trent Williams or if it's Spencer Burford, I think that's a key matchup in this game because the interior offensive line for the 49ers has got to hold up against a defensive line that's not built to pass rush, but they are built to get a push. And Mac Jones is the pocket quarterback. Mac Jones needs to be able to step up in the pocket. He needs to be able to move in the pocket. And if you're going to get an interior push against offensive linemen who don't really anchor, that means those outside guys have to hold their water because if they start to collapse around him, Mac Jones is fit to make mistakes or get sacked. So this is one of those situations where Trent Williams and Colt McKivitz have to hold their water in this game, and they have to make sure that he has the ability to move left or move right and not always have to step up in the pocket. Because even though I think Dominic Pooney will hold up because he does have a good anchor, more worried about his lateral quickness right now, the other two, Ben Barch and Jake Brendel, they don't have anchor. So that is my concern. And I watched last week, and that's what the Saints defensive line did. They got that interior push. Then those outside guys collapsed it from the outside. So Trent, Colt McKivitz, get it done. Make sure that those guys don't get after you.
Yeah, they had 5 sacks. Yeah, on Kyler Murray. I mean, I know Murray and them won, but they were getting after him. You know what I mean? And so I need the 49ers offensive line. I need the tackles to protect Mac Jones. And if they do, I think, Jack's comment earlier, Mac Jones can stand and deliver. Protection is good, he'll stand and deliver. If the pocket is good, he'll stand and deliver. Any other key matchups that you got circled out there?
Yeah, it's got to be slow down Alvin Kamara. The 49ers got to stop Alvin Kamara because if they slow down the Saints running game and Spencer Rattler has to throw the ball 40 plus times, it's going to be a long day for the Saints. But if Alvin Kamara gets going, and I think they kind of abandoned the run game a little bit too quickly last week. I think if they would have stuck with it, I think the Saints could have done a lot more and taken some of the pressure off, shortened the game even more. So it's going to be interesting. D. Winters, Fred Warner, they're going to have to get on this, and they're going to have to make sure they get some stops. And why not go after the young defensive line for the 49ers when you get that second group in there and you get Alfred Collins and you get CJ West? Attack them with some duo blocks. Alfred Collins struggled last week and try to get some movement up front. I think if I was Kellen Moore, that would be my game plan, is try to get some movement, especially against that Bravo unit, and put all the pressure on Chris Kasarik to put Jordan Elliott and put Kalia Davis in there for more snaps than he wants to. So I think that's what I would do. I get Alvin Kamara going, and for the 49ers, just got to slow him down. You don't have to stop him. You just have to slow him down.
Yep. My number one key to victory is eliminate Alvin Kamara. Here's some fun facts about Alvin Kamara versus the 49ers, though. This dude is only averaged 17.7 yards per game. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but he doesn't play well against the Niners. And I'm confused. Maybe it's because they abandoned him. They abandoned the run game or whatever or whatnot, but he does not play well, particularly as a rusher. But don't forget, Alvin Kamara is a pass-catching running back. He is their version of Christian McCaffrey. So they may not, just like Christian McCaffrey when he rushed for 60-plus yards last week, he caught for more than that. So they can utilize him, and then they could switch it up with Kendre Miller, and that's their big play, kind of speedier guy, the outside guy, blah, 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 all that good stuff. So we just got to stop the run game, period, right? Now I think that's the key. And if you stop the run game, you're going to force Spencer Rattler to put the ball in his hands to try to make plays. And that's where mistakes happen. And that's what I need the Niners defense to do. Capitalize, force mistakes, and then capitalize off the mistakes. Offensively, how do you feel the Niners, right? How do you feel the Niners are going to come out here and find ways to score points? They were 7 for 14 on third down, so 50% on third down. They were 2 for 5 in the red zone, so that's 40% right there. They just couldn't get touchdowns. How do you feel like the Niners offense will be able to finally put up some points, at least more than they did last week in 17?
Yeah, I think it's another stingy defense, and they played pretty good in the red zone, overall. But Brandon Staley's defenses normally haven't been good in the red zone. I think that's where the 49ers definitely have an advantage. They were a fingertip away last week from being 3 of 5 in the red zone. Tariq Woolen made one heck of a play on that throw from Brock Purdy.
Yeah, it was beautiful defense.
Yeah, it was. And I think that, this is an opportunity for the 49ers to kind of establish the run game again on the inside and really get going, moving the football. I think it was tough last week, and I think they can still get the run game going. But I think they're going to have to somewhat adjust a couple of things. One thing that I noticed that the 49ers don't run that they probably should run against the Saints because of Brandon Staley's affinity for running man coverage in those situations is they need to run some mesh concepts over the middle. They need to get some crossers. They need to get some guys going across. I think they can have some natural picks. It worked last week for the Cardinals. And with Brandon Staley liking to run, man coverage, anything with stack sets, you get two receivers stacked, you get bunch sets, and then you run some mesh concepts. And I think the 49ers can open up some opportunities in the run game and the passing game just because you know what Staley does.
Do you think Brian Robinson Jr., Anthony says, I want to see more Brian Robinson Jr. Do you think we see more or less of Brian Robinson Jr. this week?
Yeah, I think he gets an uptick in the amount of touches that he gets. Well, Christian McCaffrey slightly go down. I don't think they want McCaffrey over 30. I think they would rather McCaffrey get between 20 and 25. So they need Brian Robinson's to go up about 5 or 7 touches. And I think he's going to be more comfortable in this offense after a week playing in it. So I do think he's going to have more touches and more opportunities.
Love it. Offensively, other than Ricky Pearsall and Christian McCaffrey, who can be or who will be that X factor for the San Francisco 49ers?
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with Brian Robinson. I think Brian Robinson is going to be pivotal in getting some very tough yardage and converting some third downs and getting some of these red zone runs that we know the 49ers got him for. And I think that he's going to be pivotal. Another thing, it's not an X factor, but an X moment to watch is Marquez Valdes-Scantling going deep down the field vertically against this too high safety look and taking advantage of those young safeties and seeing what he can do, use that 4-3 speed and open it up. There was a couple times last week where MVS could have been targeted and it would have been some big plays. So maybe they dial it up this week and get an opportunity where Mac Jones is a good deep ball thrower. He has that ability. We saw him hit Jordan Watkins already in the preseason. Maybe now it's MVS's time. And I know MVS would love to do that to his old team.
Absolutely. It would be big payback, and I love that. Defensively, who's going to end up being the standout player of the game?
I'm going to go with Bryce Huff. I think Bryce Huff is going to come through and have some big plays in this game. I think he was real close last week. He got some free rushes. He got close to the quarterback, didn't quite make something happen. But I think this week he does. I think them missing Talise Fuaga is going to be big. And I think him and Nick Bosa are going to take turns going after the backup for Fuaga. And also Kelvin Banks Jr., who, he's Texas. A nice young player, but he's a rookie. And I think that Nick Bosa is very, very ready for that. So I think those two guys are going to play off each other. I'm guessing the Saints turn more attention to Bosa because of how good he was last week. And Bryce Huff gets some more opportunities to get in there. I think some stunts and things like that for him open him up. And I think probably gets to the quarterback a couple of times.
I love it. I love it. I love it. This is a good game for the defensive front. Do you feel like there'll be any turnovers, any interceptions, any fumble forces? It seems like the Niners know how to force fumbles. Like they figured it out. Like that's a thing now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the 49ers are going to create a turnover. That's just the way it is. This defense flies around too much. They get all heads to the football, and Fred Warner comes through punching, and that is kind of went through the whole, meticulated all the way through the entire roster. Now they're all looking for the ball at all times. Defensively, everyone's going to punch, and I think they're going to come up with the football again. And I do think that Spencer Rattler is going to put one up for grabs in this game. And I think the 49ers are going to have an opportunity for an interception, and I think it's going to happen. He didn't turn it over last week, but I think he turns it over this week. Robert Saleh's defense is going to be a little bit more difficult for him to decipher, and I think he's going to make a mistake, and the 49ers are going to capitalize on it.
Who gets the 49ers interception?
I think it's going to be Marquise Siegel. I just think this dude is a playmaker. He came up with the fumble recovery last week, and I just see it. I see a high errant throw over the middle, and Siegel's there to make the play. And I think he's gonna make a play. That's who I envision doing it.
I love it, love it, love it. That's the game plan this week versus the Saints. Shout out to my man Ant-Man. Give that man a round of applause. He definitely delivered, baby. And before we leave the show, make sure you tell everybody where they can go and find you, and then you must leave with your score prediction.
Yeah, you can find me at 49ers Cutback. It's all over the place, wherever you listen, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that, all available. Of course, I'm on Twitter as well. You can find me there. And so, yeah, thanks for having me on, Wayne. I really appreciate.
I want to do this more. Like that,
yeah.
Definitely.
I had a lot of fun. It's really enjoyable. I dig your energy, so it was a lot of fun. And you know what? 49ers, I had early in the week, and this was early. I thought Brock might play, right? There was like Tuesday, Wednesday. So I put out like a score prediction. I'm like, I think they're going to win 27-13. Now, I have changed my tune a little bit because of Mac Jones. I'm not going to get out there and say 27, but I do think the 49ers are still going to win. I'm going to go 20-16, and the 49ers still cover. I think that they can get it done. And so I think Mac Jones gets enough done. The running game gets going. Not a high-scoring game, a tough battle, but the 49ers win 20-16.
I like it, man. I don't think the Niners score. I'm not being a Debbie Downer. I just don't think they're going to score 20 points. That's just me, though. They didn't score 20 with Brock. I'm not expecting them to score 20 with Mac. But I still think the Niners cover. I got 13-9. And I don't think the San Francisco 49ers give up a touchdown. I think it's going to be all field goals for the Saints, and the Niners get a touchdown, and we get a real kicker to tee off, and we will be back to bliss, baby. We get a kicker that see ball 2 attempts, and they both go in right down the middle. Like, that's going to make this fan base uproar. I'll take a 13-9 victory any day for me. But it's been a pleasure to have you on here. Shout out to all the Breezie Bunch members, all the people watching the show. Don't forget to go to subscribe to 49ers Cutback. I'll make sure I put his link in the description of this show. All right, Faithful will be back next Friday with the game plan. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the game. Most importantly, be safe out there and always keep it faithful to the Bay. I'm jumping on Madden right after this. Peace. What's up, Faithful? Thanks for watching. Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure you check out some of the other cool videos.